What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some very important levels to watch for and why the market's approaching some very, very tough resistance. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, for the market, I just want to mention that we're seeing this very, very nice looking uptrend on SPY has been continuing, but we hit this 560 area. As you can see, it's a very tough resistance. We'll have to see if SPY can break this or not. If we can't, we're going to actually see a little retracement. And we did push a little bit higher to 560 this morning, but now SPY is in a very, very critical position where it's a tough resistance, and we'll have to see if this leads to a little bit of a dip. So I'll talk more about that in just a minute. Just notes that today is Tuesday, August 20th, 2024. At 10:30 a.m., we have the New York Fed Treasury purchases coming out. So that might cause some volatility. At 11:30 a.m., we have the 42-day bill auction. And then we have Bostic and Bart giving speeches at 1:35 and 2:45 p.m. So watch those very, very carefully. Watch those times carefully to watch for some volatility. But just note that it's nothing too crazy that's coming out. There's a 73.5% chance we get a 25 basis point cut from the Fed and about a 26% chance we get a 50 basis point cut. So just keep that in your mind as we get closer to FOMC. Lowe's announced its earnings and a lot of retails coming out for the remainder of the week. Lowe's unfortunately did not do too well. They cut their outlook because of the fact that home improvement sales are weakening. And then on top of this, EPS was a beat at $4.10. The revenue was a miss at $23.59 billion below expectations. So weak sales, weak revenue, and good earnings wasn't really enough to help this because their guidance was pretty weak, and that's why the share price is down for Lowe's. All right. Anyways, that's it for what I'm seeing for news. That's mainly about the market. Now let's talk about these charts. So the market pushed this 560 area. It's a tough resistance on SPY. If we break 560, we have potential to go up to 562. 562.8 at least. If we don't break 560, we're at risk of coming back down to 556. So far, it's looking like it's a tough resistance, so we might actually dip a little bit. So just be careful. SPY has been pumping so much. We even pushed a little bit more to get up to 560. Remember, yesterday we closed in the 559s, but now resistance is kind of tough. So I'm a little concerned there's a higher risk of this coming down to like 556. So be careful, guys. Things in the market could kind of like switch in a flash. And if we don't break 560, we could be dipping to 556. For ES, we went all the way up to about 5640. We need to break 5650 to turn bullish and continue to pump very, very hard. That's where this imbalance and this high happens to be. If we don't break 5650, we're at risk of dipping all the way down to about the 5600 area. So just be careful. I do think that there is a high probability we end up testing 5600. I think that we might end up dipping all the way back down there. So watch this very carefully. There might be a dip back down to 5600, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get from here. So be very, very mindful of that. There is a risk of ES dipping, in my opinion. We need to break past 5640 and 5650 to really turn back up. Otherwise, we're at risk of dipping. For Nvidia, Nvidia pushed all the way up to about this 130 area. It's kind of struggling to break through that. We need to break past 132 to really start pushing. Otherwise, with this resistance, so we did push to this 130 area, and now we're kind of coming down a little bit. Watch 127 as support. If that does not hold, we're going back down to about 125. So be very mindful of that. Nvidia hit some tough resistance. Now we're starting to see a little bit of a slowdown. For Bitcoin, we pushed to resistance to 200 EMA at 61,000. Now we're starting to dip. So look at 60,000 as key support, followed by 59,500. Might see a little dip on this. As far as Tesla goes, we pushed all the way up to about the 225 area. We're trying to form a nice cup and handle, in my opinion, but notice how with the cup forming, we're at this 225 resistance. We might not break this immediately. If we do break 225, we could push for about 227 and 230. If we don't break 225, look for 222 to be retested. Could we be forming the handle already? Could the cup be in? Cup and handles don't have to be perfectly symmetrical. This could be our cup, and we could dip to just form the handle and start pushing again. So watch and see. Or if we break the 225 area, then yes, we will be going to the highs. So it all depends on 225. Do we break the 225s and keep going, or do we reject for a temporary dip? We had a big piece of news from the European Commission that came out involving Tesla's tariffs being reduced. So that's part of why Tesla's pushing. But is it enough to really, break this and start forming a very symmetrical cup? We'll just have to wait and see. But I would still be very careful with Tesla right here. For the QQQ, we pushed all the way up to about 482, and now we're dipping back down to 480. We need to break past 482 to remain bullish. If not, Watch 480 is key support. If 480 fails on us, we could be dipping all the way down to 475. So just be careful, guys. I'd be very mindful of that for the QQQ. Look at resistance at 227 on Aapl. If you break that, there's going to be a bigger push coming for about 230. If we can't break that, look for 223 as support. And we could be dipping down if we don't break 227. For the IWM, we pushed all the way up just under 216. It is possible we try to go higher to fill this gap. We came just short of it. But if we don't hold above 215, that's going to be our first support. We're at risk of coming all the way down here towards 213. So just be very mindful of that. Be very, very careful. That's going to be our key level. So watch this resistance all the way up here at this 216 area. If it doesn't break this, we're at risk of falling to about 213. So be very careful with the way that that's moving. For Coinbase, we gapped up very nicely to 209, but the issue is there's a gap to fill below. If we lose 207, we're going to likely dip back down to 203 to fill that gap. If we break past 210, look for the 212 area at least. Just be mindful of the fact that if crypto is dipping, there could be a gap down or this gap to fill down here. So there could be a little dip on coin. Amazon pushed to just under 180. I was hoping it would go up to 180, but now we're starting to form kind of like a double top. We could come back down to test this trend line, which would take us to about 175. We'll see if we bounce off that. But I'm seeing like a double top starting to form on Amazon. We tried to push to the highs only to just reject so far. If we break 180, look for 182, we turn bullish. And if we fail to do so, if we fail to hold above 178, we're at risk of coming back down to 175. So I'd be watching that carefully on Amazon. Meta has a possible head and shoulders like structure. Look at 526 as support. If that breaks, we have 520 coming, then lower levels like 514, and watch 530 as resistance. Now, this head and shoulders could lead to a little bit of a dip to at least 520, so be mindful of that. Microsoft also has kind of like a double top. If we break past 425, we remain bullish. If we reject you, we're dipping back down to 418. I could be looking for the double top and a potential dip to about 418. For Google, we pushed all the way up to about this 170 area, just under 170. So it did push higher, like we predicted yesterday. But now it's starting to turn back down. If we can't hold above 168, we're at risk of coming down to 166. If we do hold above 168, we could try to rebound and push higher for like 170 or so. So watch that very, very carefully. So that being said, that's what I'm seeing, at least for the charts thus far. There is upside potential for some stocks, at least for the longer term. But for the short term, I'm seeing some risks of the market kind of tipping a little bit, especially as we're testing some new resistance. So be very mindful of that for SPY and the others. With that being said, we did go a little bit higher, but the market is starting to take a big turn right now. So watch resistance and see if we get a little bit of a dip. But that does not necessarily mean the market is bearish. It could just be a temporary dip before we go higher again. All right. So thank you for listening. Watch your levels carefully, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you and peace out.